Welcome in. It's Game Time Decisions right here on SportsGrid. I'm your host, Kevin Walsh, on a Tuesday. National champion crowned, but we keep it pushing. We have to get to tonight's NBA and college basketball slates, but also set up what happened last night and what's coming with the NFL playoffs on the horizon, all right here on Game Time Decisions on SportsGrid. Great crew stopping by as well. We'll talk to Joe Lisi in 10 minutes' time. Excited just to get his thoughts a little further removed from last night's game. Talk to Tom Vecchio, get some picks, not just in the NBA, but on the ice. JY will come by with a full card as well, and then we'll hit up Dave Sharapan a little bit later on inside hour number 2 at around 7:20 here on SportsGrid. But we'll get straight to the action. Forgive the voice. It's been a long run for yours truly. We're ending it out, but there's a lot of good stuff. 34-13, Michigan gets the job done. 4.5, 5.5 point favorite in this game. They cover every number, including every live number. There were moments in this game where folks were getting Washington as high as 17.5. We saw 15.5s, 7.5s, and these were being covered all game long by the Washington Huskies as this game was sitting 2013 for a big chunk of it. But eventually, UW was not able to capitalize. A big drive that was really ignited by the passing game for the Michigan Wolverines, capped off by a Quorum at the moment, a 12-yard rushing touchdown, what was his first of the game. And all of a sudden now, 27-13, Penix and Washington had to go fast. Instead, he was picked off on a fourth down play, nearly a 95-yard pick six. Instead, there was just enough breathing room for Quorum to find his second touchdown and make this game 34-13, staying well under the pregame total of 56.5. At some point, some folks probably got as good of a number as 55 on that under, but it was under the whole way. A live 46.5 is, I think, the only number you would have been able to creep through and sneak through, and even those numbers were pretty pricey when they did come available as we did the live coverage last night on CFT Live. We'll bring our radio audience into the fold. Appreciate all those who are with us here on SportsGrid. Kevin Walsh, Sirius XM, Channel 159. It's Game Time Decisions on a Tuesday night, but when one door closes, another door opens, and we look at next year's national championship odds, and the favorites are the Georgia Bulldogs at plus 350. There you see the reigning champs at 10-1. The Michigan Wolverines, Georgia, and Alabama as the top two teams is really important. So when you talk about the elites of college football, right, and there's a couple of them, but Georgia and Bama certainly fit that description. Both are expected to have the same starting quarterback, Jalen Milroe, for the Crimson Tide, and Georgia with Carson Beck. The thing that you'll also see, and just kind of have to remind yourself, there's a lot of changes. This in Texas is an SEC school. Oregon is a Big Ten school. Just some of the changes that are coming with the college football landscape, and also how we have 9 teams underneath 20-1. That is usually not the reality of it, because only 4 teams make it, because one loss can ruin your season, because 2 losses definitely ruins your season. And this is going to be an adjustment here. And is the value further down the board because you can take big tickets into a 12-team field? Or my early read, and we are as early as you can be, is the value at the top of the board, because it's hard to imagine any world where Georgia isn't inside the top 12 teams in the country, and then you're holding a plus 350 ticket on the Bulldogs. There are some better numbers on Georgia if you are interested in them. Michigan, of course, comes with a lot of uncertainty, though, at both quarterback and head coach. Could Harbaugh make the move to the NFL? That is a question that we'll have to wait and see what the answer will be. But speaking of the NFL, we were not here with you on Monday. Again, a great bit of national championship coverage by everyone here at SportsGrid. Excited to be a part of it. But that means we have not talked about the NFL playoff field being set. And here it is. It's beautiful. It absolutely is. On the NFC side of it, the Texans won the South. They will host the Browns. They do so as a slight home underdog. Miami goes to Kansas City. Saturday Peacock. Cannot wait to hear everybody complain about having to watch that game on Peacock. And then Pittsburgh is a double-digit dog against the Buffalo Bills, largely because they were without their best player in TJ Watt. Baltimore awaits the lowest advancing seed. So while this is presented as a bracket, it is not a certainty that they would play the winner of this game. A lot of upsets could come in, and that would change it, certainly. On the NFC side of it here, Niners have the bye. Tampa Bay held on, beat the Carolina Panthers in a really ugly football game, 9-0. to give themselves the NFC South crown. Eagles atrocious. They lost. The Rams, despite being a dog and trailing for a good bit of that game against the Niners, win with Carson Wentz at the helm against Darnold and San Fran. And what that did is keep them as the 6th seed. They would have fell down to the 7. Green Bay with a win against the Chicago Bears draws the Dallas Cowboys. And for the Rams, and look at the Rams and the Packers. The Packers are a 7.5-point underdog now against Dallas. The Rams, just a 3.5-point dog to the Detroit Lions. You see the value there for the Rams and the fact that Wentz was able to grab that win for them in that game. But we'll talk more about the NFL. Maybe we'll get a couple quick thoughts again from Lisi, who will be here in a couple of moments. But putting our attention towards tonight's action, the NBA slate is not robust, but it is interesting. And there's a couple of scenarios, and one of them that really stands out to me is the matchup between the Dallas Mavericks and the Memphis Grizzlies. A stunning bit of news last night that Ja Morant is going to be out for the remainder of the season. Only played 9 games for the Memphis Grizzlies. It is reflected in Memphis's number tonight against Dallas, catching around 8 points in that basketball game. The total is 235. The Memphis offense has struggled throughout this season. The worst offensive rating in the NBA. Ja was elevating. Ja was lifting that group, and that's a big reason they were 6-3 in the 9 games that he had played. What type of regression do we see? Now, they did play against Phoenix without him and won outright, so you keep that in mind. Your other spots here, Knicks remain unbeaten straight up and against the spread with OG Anunoby. Minnesota's laying a number in Orlando, who's so far been able to win both and cover both without Franz Wagner in their lineup. Sacramento lays a big number against the Pistons. And then the Lakers, off of one of their most important wins of the season against the Los Angeles Clippers, now spin it forward against the Raptors, who are in the meat of a West Coast trip here. R.J. Barrett, off one of the best scoring performances of his career, certainly as a Raptor, scoring 37 against the Golden State Warriors. College basketball slate is excellent tonight here. Ranked situation in the Big 12 with BYU and Baylor. Duke makes the road trip to Pitt, as they're going to try and do what North Carolina did, which was handle Pittsburgh on the road. The number 1 team in the country is in action in Nebraska. Kentucky against Mizzou. Houston, Iowa State is going to be a game for people to keep their eye on here. The Cyclones right now rank as a top 5 defense on KenPom, and we can take this right into a quick pick. I've been very skeptical of how Houston would translate to the Big 12 on a consistent basis, and would the Houston Cougars be able to run and hide from these great Big 12 teams? And Iowa State so far looks like they're going to be one of the best teams in this conference. But if you look at that Cyclones defense, played a game against the Texas A&M team that profiles very similarly, but not even as well as Houston's offense. They allowed 73. Only once this year has Houston been held under 65.5, and it was 65. Shout out to Townsend. We'll take a team total over for the Cougars. And next, Joe Lisi here on SportsGrid.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
Right now, he's a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division favorite.
I don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
San Francisco minus 120 to win the NFC Championship. It's the Cowboys with the second best number. The Eagles at 7-1.
What the hell's the difference between the 6 and the 7 seed? I need my guys healthy here to make a playoff push. They took the bye week and still won the football game. You want to talk about 2 franchises going in the wrong direction? The Eagles, ridiculous what they did this week.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
It's a lot of fun to do because you could kind of, place a season-long bet all at once and just wait it out. I've always found that interesting. But New York is one state where it's a little bit unclear.
You cannot bet on basically anything that requires a vote. So you're talking about an MVP award, a Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, anything where people at the end of the year have to vote.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Bills going on the road to Miami Gardens, knocking off the Dolphins as 3-point favorites. They win it 21-14.
You want to lose like the Falcons did today, 48-17? That's probably bothersome. You want to win an ugly game where you throw 3 picks, but you end up winning the division? No one cares. Ain't nobody going to be talking about interceptions in the end zone tomorrow. You know what they're talking about? Hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers next weekend in the playoffs.
Football Full Circle, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in Game Time Decisions live on a Tuesday night. I'm Kevin Walsh. I'm joined by the one and only Joe Lisi. Many people calling him Mr. Donovan Edwards these days. Look, Lisi, I got to be honest with you. I feel like after the Rose Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, right? Your voice was hanging on, but you powered through. A little role reversal now. I'm hanging on by a thread here on a Tuesday, but I'm feeling good. How are you?
Oh, it was great last night, Kev. I mean, to hit both of those bets in the first, the first 8 minutes? I mean, that was
it's crazy.
Game last night. I was sitting back, relaxed. The under was a clear winner. We swept the board. We had a great night. I'm telling you, I had fun.
No, you're doing a bit. You didn't sweep the board on Washington. You're just doing a bit. Look, let's start with this.
Well,
I know you've been doing
sweeping the board as I had Edwards from 40 to 80 and 2 touchdowns.
Correct.
That's really all I care about. I told Carver.
I know.
I don't care who wins after that happened.
Yeah, no, and that I'm telling you, that's why you were seeing the game so clearly with the live under, when to jump in, when to jump out. You were calm as can be. My question to you, again, we got to do a little bit of recap at the end of that game last night. I know you've been talking about it all day on Coast to Coast. The Michigan Wolverines next year, if Harbaugh's gone, if McCarthy's gone, do you still view them as one of the elite programs in college football for just next season, booked right now at the 5th best price to win a title?
No. And again, without McCarthy, whenever you don't have that veteran quarterback, whether he was good or not last night, that matters in terms of a playoff type of environment if you haven't been there before. And with not an interim staff, but without the recognizable name brand in terms of Harbaugh for recruiting and for just players buying in, that's a tough ask. You can do it in season, but there's still growing pains or even though Sharon Moore had the task this year of how many games? 6? I mean, that's still an opportunity where when you do take on the full responsibility, now with the full season and the off season and spring camp and recruiting, there's a lot to get, involved. And throughout the course of a regular season, I wouldn't bet on that. So we'll see. I mean, does that mean Michigan can't make the playoff next year? Absolutely not. But I wouldn't bet on them without Harbaugh on the helm.
So let me ask you this, because I'd rather, Joe, just put our eyes towards, because some people today will be betting national championship futures for next year. People like to grab those when a season comes to a close, and you've done a great job explaining how the markets are going to look way different now with a 12-team format. Let's use two teams on opposite ends of the spectrum. Are you more likely to take Georgia today at plus 350 under the guide of, well, they're going to be there, they'll be in the playoff, or do you want a 40-1 Tennessee ticket, just using two SEC schools as an example, because you know what? I got a real chance to get into the dance with Tennessee now that it's a 12-team format.
Yeah, I would probably take the flyer of the long shot. And again, you know, like Georgia plus 350, I mean, depending upon how their schedule falls next year, one game lost, they're probably still going to be there, right? I mean, that's the mindset. So, you know, you might be, it is a tough ask because you should mention Tennessee. I might not take Tennessee. I'd probably take LSU. That's not on that.
Yeah.
You know, but a long shot. Now, Ole Miss is another team that jumps out, right? Jackson Dart coming back. They lose Quinshon Judkins. I probably would want a team that I think can make that run. That's not going to be where everybody's going to bet. So I would probably take the lottery ticket first and then see how we fluctuate throughout maybe the course of the regular season on some of the contenders.
Now, as far as the Heisman Trophy goes, and again, you and I can now talk about this award with nothing but smiles moving forward, right? But one of the interesting things is, one of my big contentions of why Jaden Daniels, you know, shouldn't have won the award is he wasn't even in the mix for the college football playoff. Forget the fact that LSU still wouldn't have made the playoff in a 12-team format. I'm really not even doing a setup here. But now, I think it really expands the field, Joe, because for Jaden Daniels to win it, he had to have an all-time great statistical season.
Right.
I now wonder if we get a little more MVP type of conversation and a kid whose team finishes 9th, but he's the whole story, holds more weight than, well, he's the number one quarterback on the number one team in the country kind of conversation.
No, you're right. And I was just thinking group of 5. Like if you want to take it a step further, like even like just use it this past year, Caden Salter that had Liberty at 12-0, right? Where, you know, if he runs the table and puts up huge numbers, that's complementary to some of these other Power 5, and they win their conference and they're the 12th seed in the college football playoff. Is the media then going to view that the way we used to back in the day when we had players like Gordy Lockbaum and Joe Dudek in the conversation back in when I was your age or, you know, younger than that. That's, you know, I was a young kid. We were in 1985, Kevin, you know, Chuck Long and Joe Dudek were mentioned in the same type of conversation. There were no odds. You couldn't bet it then, but now you can. So do we take a shot in terms of that type of situation? I would, right? I mean, think about it. If you think about the group of 5 teams that we're going to have, if a Sun Belt team goes 13-0 and you have a quarterback that throws like Bailey Zappi did for Western Kentucky, does the media change the narrative? Because to your point now, we're in the college football playoff. I think they do.
Would a Zach Wilson or Grayson McCall, that BYU Coastal Carolina season, enter that conversation?
You buy them now. Now you buy. If you're going to hang a 200 shot, we buy it.
Because to your point, those teams now, and this is why I think the expanded playoff works. Now, Liberty football games matter. Right? Coastal games matter. These G5 schools matter because they're going to be in the playoff. So you just have to accept that for what it is and what it is going to be. I wanted to ask you, though, about kind of the top of this kind of rung here. Ewers, Beck, Milrow are plus 750. Dylan Gabriel's 10-1. They go Will Howard, who landed at Ohio State at 15, with Nico of Tennessee at 15. And the under 20-1 crew is finished off with Nussmeier, Jackson Arnold of Oklahoma, and Jackson Dart at 18-1. How interesting is Nussmeier and just the LSU system? Is that tempting at all at 18-1?
No, he's not. I don't know if they don't get another quarterback before the time comes. Yeah, I mean, think about it. Brian
KJ's 100.
Okay. Oh, wait, are you kidding me? Is he really?
He's 100.
Wow.
I looked it
like
up for you.
Nico, though. I like Nico, too. He showed me a lot in that game against Iowa. Kid's got wheels.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Dylan Gabriel because I think Oregon going to the Big Ten is built a little bit more ready with Lanning than maybe Washington without Penix. So I would take a shot on Gabriel at 10-1.
I like the Gabriel shot because I think that Gabriel should be. I think Gabriel has a better chance probably to win it. I think Gabriel, and maybe they open it up, but on Gabriel, I think that he has a better chance than, honestly, Carson Beck. I know I was big on Beck this year, but my thing with Beck was, well, they're the number one team in the country, and again, like they were, and I think Beck can have a nice season there, but now he's not going to statistically have the season Dylan Gabriel will at Oregon. I think that would be very difficult.
Dylan Gabriel's going to mimic Nick's if he's healthy, right? I mean, maybe not as 80% completion percentage, but you would think with the touchdowns through the air and on the ground.
But who's the Travis Hunter 75, Ollie Gordon 100? Are they even hanging
100?
Judkins?
I think we take a shot on Judkins and Gordon. I mean, what if we?
They're not even hanging Judkins
yet.
Yeah, you know what? To your point, it's a good catch by you. They're not really hanging a lot of skill guys because I think there's a lot of uncertainty about where.
I think we just eat them up. We take everybody.
I like that. It's a great idea. Lisi, good stuff as always. We'll talk more throughout the season. We'll be right back on SportsGrid.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run, run, run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now, we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I
favorite.
don't care if they win because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
San Francisco minus 120 to win the NFC Championship. It's the Cowboys with the second best number. The Eagles at 7-1.
What the hell's the difference between the 6 and the 7 seed? I need my guys healthy here to make a playoff push. They took the bye week and still won the football game. You want to talk about two franchises going in the wrong direction? The Eagles. Ridiculous what they did this week.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
It's a lot of fun to do because you could kind of, place a season-long bet all at once and just wait it out. I've always found that interesting. But New York is one state where it's a little bit unclear.
You cannot bet on basically anything that requires a vote. So you're talking about an MVP award, Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, anything where people at the end of the year have to vote.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Bills going on the road to Miami Gardens, knocking off the Dolphins as 3-point favorites. They win it 21-14.
You want to lose like the Falcons did today, 48-17? That's probably bothersome. You want to win an ugly game where you throw 3 picks, but you end up winning the division? No one cares. Ain't nobody going to be talking about interceptions in the end zone tomorrow. You know what they're talking about? Hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers next weekend in the playoffs.
Football Full Circle. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
All right, let's get into it here. Tom Vecchio joins us now on Game Time Decisions. Tom, excited to have you. We've got a lot of options on the ice tonight, but you are trusting the top guy, which I'm always interested to hear a breakdown, really with anything in the hockey. But you're not going to only bet top guys. So for McDavid to make the card, it probably has to be a great spot. Tell me about it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Keeping things super simple with McDavid for 2+ points. He's been on fire with 16 points in the last 10 games. Matchup against Chicago is awesome, and the Oilers are playing much improved. I'm not going to say they're great, but they are playing significantly better over the last 2 weeks. They're scoring 4 goals per 60 minutes in 5v5 situations. That's the best in the league. And Chicago is a team, they're allowing 3.43 goals in the same situations. That's the third worst in the league over the last 2 weeks. Chicago also banged up. There's no Bedard out there. He's on IR. It's just a super simple spot for McDavid. There's a lot of other good bets tonight. I like Ryan O'Reilly for Nashville to score a goal. Their top line center, it's at plus 165 or was earlier. Good shot volume, first forward line, first power play, super soft matchup against the Ducks. Like basically everything we want.
So out of curiosity, do you jump in, because I'm just looking at it here on FanDuel, Geno specials, daily specials. There's a lot of plus money here. Do you ever kind of find some value in these spots, or is it a little difficult to do each and every day?
It's a little tough to do each and every day. I also, again, we've talked about this before. I like players coming off of bad performances, quote unquote, where like a bad shooting performance or a player that hasn't scored in a few games. Like those are my favorite spots, and those. I don't like to take lines that are like predetermined for me. I'd rather just kind of pinpoint the value that I'm looking for and go from there.
I got to tell you, though, Tom, I got to give the folks at FanDuel a lot of credit here. I mean, the options on the ice are far more robust than I would have monthly specials. And it's how many goals McDavid will score in January. Austin Matthews will score. Most points in the month here. That's pretty remarkable. It's a hat tip from me.
Yeah, the player right now to keep an eye on is going to be Nathan McKinnon. He's 2 or 3, I think he's 2 in the league right now in total points, and he's going to be neck and neck with McDavid to win the Art Trophy and the Hart Trophy, and the Art Ross for MVP and then most points in the league. So they're going to be fighting till the end. We know that McKinnon can easily put up 100 points. I'd say touch 130 points this year. It's pretty easy for him.
You're a great person to ask because you follow both the hockey and the NBA closely. The NBA MVP award, narrative, voter fatigue, very real. On the ice, are people like, oh, come on, no, enough with this McDavid? And will there be a desire to give it to McKinnon, or does it go the other way?
So McDavid's kind of like Ohtani, where it's just like if he does his thing, he's probably going to win it, but that doesn't mean that there's not value elsewhere where if we see Colorado finish first in their division, which is a possibility, and McKinnon has 10 or 15 more points than McDavid, which is also a possibility, it's going to go to McKinnon. Like, that's just how it's going to happen. So they're kind of similar, I would say, more towards MLB than NBA.
Yeah. All right, let's get over to the NBA then here. We've got Julius Randle as an option for you. Randle has been on a bizarre run that so he had one 8-point game, and beyond that, he's averaging basically 35 a night over his last 5 here. What are you making from the recent Randle run? How are you betting it?
Love Randle. He started off the year super cold, and the shot volume was the same. The minutes were the same, obviously, with Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau is the coach. We know the minutes are going to be the same for a player. An article just came out about him in The Athletic that really highlighted what he is doing, and he's getting to the rim. He's not settling for these mid-range shots. He's getting to the rim. And the shot volume was the same because he started off the year super cold, and he just kind of tweaked his game, and now he's on fire. Like you said, outside this game against Philly, he's been absolutely unbelievable, averaging 28 and 8 over the last 10. Going up against Portland tonight, obviously a matchup we are not worried about. So Randle going for 35 and 12 tonight is he can get their points alone, basically. So really simple spot. The Knicks are 12-point favorites with 229 over-under, I think it is tonight. We're going to see a lot of scoring.
Yep. Yeah, no, again, it makes plenty sense. Sometimes you worry, or I do worry, am I late to something? But when a guy has it and he's playing still a vulnerable team in Portland who just, played an overtime game against the Nets, it certainly lines up. Ja Morant out for the rest of the year on Memphis. Does that create some opportunity for you? They play the Mavs tonight.
Yeah, that's going to Desmond Bane over 3.5, made threes, -104. I think it's a great line. And we can actually look at what is a really good sample size from earlier this season when Ja was out. And, Desmond Bane's obviously a primary usage player for them. He's averaging 8.99. I'm going to call it 9 3-point attempts per 36 minutes with Ja off the court this season. He's hitting them at a 38% clip, which is awesome. He's going to have to be that main carry on offense for the Grizzlies moving forward. Dallas, they're around 13.3 made threes per game. That's the 13th most in the league. So Bane taking 12 3-pointers, as we've seen earlier this season, 10, 12 3-point attempts is very likely for him, given the fact that they need the scoring to keep up with the Mavericks. So that's a number that's probably going to move as the days and weeks go on without Ja, and I'd rather get in at near even money compared to when it's going to be -130 or something.
I will give the people a similar, for using the same sample size as Tom breakdown. I am not betting it a bit out of frustration, admittedly, and Tom can relate to this, and I'm sure a lot of you out there can. They played on Sunday against Phoenix without Ja, and it's week 18. So I wasn't on the NBA board that day. I wasn't kind of going through it all. But this season, Desmond Bane, on a rebound assist prop of 11.5, is 19 of them has gone under. It's 73% of the time he's gone under 11.5 rebounds plus assists. The idea is, no Ja, elevate the number. No, all he does is shoot when Ja's not around. The offense isn't as good, less assist opportunities. I'm just not betting it because I missed it against Phoenix. And that's a little frustrating for me. Okay. But you can also find a very expensive 12.5, but it just, if you want it, you can absolutely go and attack that tonight, because I did the same thing as you, Tom. Now you can because here's the thing, with Ja, he was 7-2 over 11.5 rebounds plus assists. So the book is using the Ja performances, right? And I think you're taking advantage in the same exact way.
Right. We want to look at what Bane is capable of outside of the current state of the line that is posted. And something that's obviously baked in. He is a good three-pointer. It's not like he's just hitting threes out of nowhere. He was doing it for the past few seasons. But I'm looking back at the split of earlier this season, which is like a 25-game sample size, which is obviously huge. And 38% from three is awesome. And, if you want to, that's a player that could easily hit 4, 5, 6 per game based on his volume.
Yep. So Tom asked me during the break, any NFL playoff takes? And I said, well, Tom had a take that reminded me of something. Because there's a lot of, playoffs get set, there's a lot of markets. And something that I get probably too interested in is the Super Bowl MVP market and the price on anyone that isn't a quarterback. Because if you think a team gets there, you are going to absolutely destroy a number heading into the Super Bowl. And the thing is, you use Lamar, right? Lamar is 4-1, the favorite right now for Super Bowl MVP. The Ravens are plus 320, though, to win it. Is that really worth it to bet Lamar at 4-1 when the Ravens are plus 320? I don't think so. Is McCaffrey, this is Tom's breakdown, at now 10-1 to win it, worth it when the Niners are plus 220? I absolutely agree. My question, though, to you, Tom, is how far are you willing to go? Because the 55-1 number on Tyreek Hill, I just can't stop staring at.
Well, there obviously has to be a cutoff, because I always part of what I do is look at the path to get there, and the path for the Dolphins is not easy. So if you want to like Micah Parsons is, I think I saw him at 60-1 at some places. Him, a defensive player winning is obviously in the lower end of outcomes. That's not a normal thing that's going to happen. But him having 2 sacks, a turnover, a pick, a forced fumble, whatever you want to call it, whatever combination, is viable on any game. And if he does that in the Super Bowl, that is game-changing stuff. So if I think they can get there, I would want it to be a truly, truly impactful player like Tyreek. As you're saying, the number is awesome for Tyreek, but the path for the Dolphins to get there, even just to get to the championship game, the AFC Championship, is something that I'm not interested in. So there has to be a line somewhere, and it might not be with Tyreek.
And this is really where the balance of this is tough, because the Dolphins are 17-1 to win the Super Bowl. It is not the gap is not 5x of Dolphins win the Super Bowl, Tyreek wins MVP of the Super Bowl. But this is where this stuff, at time, and I know I've noticed this the more Tom and I have done stuff together, that you throw a good number around at some point, it's like, I just got to take the good number. That Tyreek number at 55-1 is completely wrong, but does it matter if it's going to ultimately lose? And that's sometimes the balance with stuff like this, right? Because even if you end up correct and you get this awesome Tyreek Hill 55-1 into the Super Bowl, there isn't really a hedge on it. I mean, I'll bet Tua, and then I'll bet but it gets a little complicated there. But it's a very fun market to play in, Tom, before there are any games that come off the board.
Right, and I had a Jags future at 35-1, which died in the final weeks of the season, so I don't have a Super Bowl future. So I'm essentially taking McCaffrey as my Super Bowl future for the 49ers, which I think they can obviously win the Super Bowl. And if that game rolls around, McCaffrey's going to be like 2-1 to win the MVP.
Yeah, I don't think that is wrong at all. And I wonder, because the idea when Jimmy was on the team, like I thought Debo could do it. Does Debo, Ayuk, I don't know, Fred Warner, all this, like, do those guys also factor in? Because they will gladly not give it to Brock Purdy. Tom, great stuff. As always, JY's up next.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev. Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
Right now, he's a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I
favorite.
don't care if they win because all we care about is the money, baby. The money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
San Francisco minus 120 to win the NFC Championship. It's the Cowboys with the second best number. The Eagles at 7-1.
What the hell's the difference between the 6th and the 7th seed? I need my guys healthy here to make a playoff push. They took the bye week and still won the football game. You want to talk about two franchises going in the wrong direction? The Eagles. Ridiculous what they did this week.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
It's a lot of fun to do because you could kind of, place a season-long bet all at once and just wait it out. I've always found that interesting. But New York is one state where it's a little bit unclear.
You cannot bet on basically anything that requires a vote. So you're talking about an MVP award, a Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, anything where people at the end of the year have to vote.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Bills going on the road to Miami Gardens, knocking off the Dolphins as 3-point favorites. They win it 21-14.
You want to lose like the Falcons did today, 48-17? That's probably bothersome. You want to win an ugly game where you throw 3 picks, but you end up winning the division? No one cares. Ain't nobody going to be talking about interceptions in the end zone tomorrow. You know what they're talking about? Hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers next weekend in the playoffs.
Football Full Circle. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Back with you here on SportsGrid's Game Time Decisions. Coach James Young stepping up and in here on a Tuesday night. JY, how you feeling?
Hey, man, listen. We don't even talk about no Michigan football. We're talking about is Juwan Howard going to let Phil Martelli head coach another game? Did you see that? Like, he let Phil Martelli be the head coach of a game. I mean, shout out to Juwan Howard. I mean, I'm slapping people, all that stuff. But, hey, at least they got volleyball, at least for the next couple of weeks.
Wow, shout out to Juwan Howard for slapping people, according to JY, not according to me. According to JY, that's what gets the shout out here. JY, let's do it. Let's start with, where should we start? You want to do the college or the NBA first? It looks like you're hot on this Knicks game, so we'll start there. They're playing the Blazers tonight at the Garden.
You know what? Let's flip it if you don't mind, because it just tipped off. I like Seton Hall tonight -7.5. Sorry, I just figured that game was at
6:30 game.
So, yeah, I like Seton Hall -7.5. Listen, I went to the Marquette game on Saturday, and you know, obviously knowing Shaw and Ryan Whalen really well, they're starting to turn this team around. They're tough defensively. They have 3 big wins. They're back in the top 25. I think Shaw is one of the more underrated coaches in the country. I just think people look at that one run he had over, at St. Peter's, but people don't realize when last time Seton Hall was good, folks, with Kevin Willard, Shaheen Holloway was the recruiting coordinator and got all those kids in. They're playing well. Georgetown's going to be better. I know it's 7.5. I just don't think they're going to allow this team to let down. Give me Seton Hall -7.5.
Yeah, I am a little worried about the potential letdown there, JY, but also I don't really even look into Seton Hall games that much because I'm selfish and I can't bet Seton Hall games unless I go back to Queens. So at least JY did the work for everyone else there. We'll re-rack the college in a second, JY. Talk to me about the Knicks here against the Blazers, 4-0 straight up and against the spread since OG Anunoby has joined the fold here. How do you feel about them against Portland?
Well, a couple of things with the Knicks so far. They're 9-1 against the spread at home, and I think what happens. I'm sorry, that's 1. But the Knicks, I'm sorry, they're 12-6, I should say, against the spread when they're at home. And I think what they are there when they play bad teams, they win, right? And they're playing great. The offense is flowing better. Yeah, Tom Vecchio really got into a good description of Julius Randle last segment, which I completely agree with Tom. It's the key, Kevin, is the 3-point attempts are down. He's down about 3 attempts, and I think Julius Randle realizes he can just bully ball people to death. So he's driving the ball to the basket. You have obviously OG and obviously DiVincenzo spacing on the floor. So I do like the Knicks tonight, -12 points. I think they roll them. Listen, Kevin, they beat bad teams. It's the good teams that they struggle against. I think that Philadelphia game was an outlier. They played well. Philadelphia was terrible. But also 2 other things, Kevin, really quick with the Knicks, the game. I like Isaiah Hartenstein, not Hartenstein, Stephen A. Smith, you jabroni, to get a double-double at +145 over 2 of his 4 games. He's playing the best basketball that he's been with the Knicks. He's also better because he's in that dunk spot, right? But with more 3-point volume, he's actually top 5 in the NBA in offensive rebounds per game since Mitchell Robinson got hurt. So now is it Mitchell Robinson's offensive rebounding or is it the way the Knicks play? So look at that and to correlate when I think about New York, I'm going to go with Brunson over 7.5 assists. I know we talked about it last week. It was a 2-assist game against Philadelphia, but he's gone over 3 of the 4 games. And you got to admit, Kevin, the offense looks different. And they're so reliant on Randall and Brunson, but Brunson to spray the ball around. Plus, with quickly not getting a ton of being gone, Deuce McBride playing better, you're going to get Brunson playing with the second unit. So now it's also Josh Hart. That's also Quentin Grimes. So there's other catch-and-shoot guys they get to play with. Brunson over 7.5 assists tonight.
What's the juice on the Brunson assist prop?
Last time it's probably outrageous. If it wasn't that bad earlier. How bad is it now?
All right, hold on. I'll pull it up. No, it's -110, -115. You're fine. All right.
Because there was a game last week. It was 7.5, and it was like -170. Like so. Still be wary of that.
Yeah, the night he had 2.
The night he had 2. Exactly. But the crazy thing about it is Deuce McBride came in and banged like 4 threes. And the game was a blowout. So this kid played more time. I think tonight he gets his assists. I wouldn't be shocked, folks, he gets assists, 5-6 assists in the first half. The game should be a blowout.
For me, I'm on the under in this game. The Blazers are 7-2 to the under following a win. They just won in overtime against the Brooklyn Nets. If you look at the Knicks in the 4-game sample size since this trade, they are averaging 119.3 points per game, but that would still be underneath what their team total is tonight. And while the Blazers are a bad team, it's more so on the offensive side. They actually rank 19th in defensive rating, which is one spot ahead of the Milwaukee Bucks. But I think I can lean on the Knicks here in a beat-up spot against this bad Portland offense in this 4-game run, holding opposing offenses to 100.8 points per game. I think this total's a little too tall here tonight at 229. So now we can flip it back into the college side. JY will also be here at 7:10 to go through the remainder of his picks. That'll tip off a little bit later. And JY, a real test tonight for the Houston Cougars. If you look, shortest line for them all season long in a matchup on the road against Iowa State. Where do you see the battle in some Big 12 action here?
Listen, Iowa State is always traditionally a tough team at home. And listen, this is why Houston went into the Big 12 to go ahead and play top competition. But if you look closely at their record, Iowa State, although they've played well, 2 ranked opponents they played, Texas A&M, they lost by 4. Oklahoma, they lost by 8. So where's the really good win that they've had this year? You want to say Iowa by 25? I don't think Iowa. DePaul, no. Houston is battle-tested, and they make a statement. This game, ready, K-Dub, could be a rock fight with these two teams, particularly defensively, slow-paced. I'm going to take Houston on the money line that they come out with a really tough win against Iowa State.
I am taking a team total over for Houston here. I hope this is not a repeat of what happened when JY and I did a breakdown of Purdue, Maryland, and he laid the number with Purdue. I took a team total. Purdue covered, but no team total. I have no problem if Houston wins the game. Not that I'm rooting against JY. It would just be nice for us to both get across the finish line here in this spot. Part of the reason I'm not looking to, it's very similar to the Purdue thing. I am not overly anxious, JY, to money line or lay a number short on the road with the way some of the early college basketball results have been pouring in. I still have some hesitation here, but I'll tell you, this is awesome tonight. No matter what happens for Houston, look, if they lose, there will be this much of me that is very tempted to be like, see, they're terrible, but they're not terrible. But this is the type of number that didn't really exist for them playing in the American. Right? They'd go on the road and they'd still lay 7, 8, double digits in some of those games, right? Depending on who the matchups were. This is a game tonight where they're going to be battle tested big time. And there's plenty of spots. You're going to see Houston as a dog at Kansas, at Baylor, right? We'll see how BYU looks tonight against Baylor. We'll talk about that game in a little bit. There's going to be spots for Houston, JY, where they're catching points here. So that's what I'm really, really excited about, is to watch Houston be tested now throughout regular season play.
And I agree with you, Kevin. And I think here's the thing about Houston. When we got to the tournament, there was always talk of they haven't played a good game since, December, right? Unless they played Memphis, which Memphis would give them, they would give them a war. I think one game at Memphis last year, I think went to overtime. It was an outstanding game. I think it was a CBS game, if I'm not mistaken. But they're going into the best league in college basketball, in my opinion, top to bottom in the Big 12. They're going to be battle-tested, folks. So if you start to see Houston really playing well, you're going to see their odds start to drop during the year, because here's what's going to happen. When they get to the NCAA tournament, no one's going to look at them and say, well, they haven't played anybody good besides Memphis. They're going to be battle-tested night after night. Mm-hmm. I think Kelvin Sampson is one of the best coaches in the country. It's funny, Jeff Goodman put his Mount Rushmore list of current coaches. I think Izzo was on it, Bill Self. I forget the other two. And I actually sat there, I was like, is Kelvin Sampson right now one of the 4 best coaches in college basketball? Kevin, I think he actually is.
Well, I think this is the year, JY, that we'll find out. Not to give a cop-out, but again, and it's, look, Mark Few obviously, right, dominated the WCC. It's fine. But the reality is when you are that, not even a big fish in a small pond. I mean, they're a shark, Houston, playing in the American. You now go to the Big 12, which is a great league. Looks like it's going to be really awesome this year. You know, the difference, I know you made the joke at the top, it's not college football season anymore. But the reason that Houston and Cincinnati and BYU are playing Big 12 basketball is so their football programs could play Big 12 football. Well, a lot of those teams really struggled. Houston and Cincinnati and BYU, those were step-ups that they couldn't necessarily handle. But while that was going on, Kansas basketball's like, you got to be kidding me, man, right? Baylor basketball's like, hold on. And we didn't really think this out, fellas. These teams are adapting much better. So I think that's good. Well, let's go to the SEC, JY. One of my favorite teams to watch in college basketball this season has been the Kentucky Wildcats. They'll play Mizzou tonight here in SEC play. How do you feel?
Listen, Kevin. We've been big fans of Cal, and this is a big year for Cal. I talked to obviously Jeff Goodman about this last week. They're 9-1 at home, right? They had a really gutsy win at Florida, an underrated Florida team, right? Cal's got these guys playing as well as I've seen Kentucky play in a long time. They're top 10. Obviously, we can talk about the babies. We can talk about all of them. But Missouri is also losers of 4 in the last 5 games. I think Kentucky's the best team in the SEC. And Kevin, I've come all the way around, and I said, well, Cal's got to get to the second weekend. He's got to get to the Sweet 16. Kevin, this team can get to the Final Four. This team is so loaded, and the crazy thing is maybe he's a little bit overrated. DJ Wagner hasn't even taken off yet. If he starts to take off, and he's like, what, Kevin, the third, fourth best guard on that roster, and then obviously the play of Bradshaw has been an absolute monster down below. I'm going to lay the points minus 12.5. I think they roll Missouri. Missouri is not good on the road. They barely play on the road, and they're going into a Kentucky team that's now top 10 in the country. Good luck. Give me the Wildcats minus the points.
I'm interested, though, JY. I worry a little about the spot just because that win at Florida, that was a great win. That was an awesome win for this Kentucky team here. And they've had a few, right? The North Carolina game. But to go on the road, trail by, I believe, 7 or 8 points it was at half in that game, and eke out a close one like that. Look, I know, but this is college basketball. It's like, the number 16 beat an unranked team. They were a 3.5-point dog against that. And that's a nice Florida Gators team. Shout out Walter Clayton Jr., former Gale, on that team. It was just a spot, man, where if they lost, nobody would have held it against them. And to come out and get that win, but that's tough. And we've seen them at home have some vulnerability a little bit, JY. It's a big ticket. It's a big number. But we've also seen Mizzou be outclassed this season, right? Illinois, who can profile a little similarly to Kentucky. I think you mentioned the key guy in DJ Wagner. He was great in the game against Florida. How does he start to come on, Coach, is I think a big thing to watch.
That is, because when you look at that roster and you look at those kids that Cal can come on, and you're bringing a guy like Dillingham off the bench. If DJ could be that guy, you got guys that can straight up get buckets with Reeves and Dillingham and Shepard, and the DJ comes along, and then Bradshaw in the middle. I'm telling you, folks, this Kentucky team is something. You better enjoy it. They're going to be like Haley's Comet, and they could actually make a run to the Final Four.
All right, great stuff. We'll talk to Coach in a little bit here and get you a best bet, though, on the other side of the break.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev. Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now, we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I
favorite.
don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
San Francisco minus 120 to win the NFC Championship. It's the Cowboys with the second best number. The Eagles at 7-1.
What the hell's the difference between the 6 and the 7 seed? I need my guys healthy here to make a playoff push. They took the bye week and still won the football game. You want to talk about two franchises going in the wrong direction? The Eagles. Ridiculous what they did this week.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
A lot of fun to do because you could kind of, place a season-long bet all at once and just wait it out. I've always found that interesting. But New York is one state where it's a little bit unclear.
You cannot bet on basically anything that requires a vote. So you're talking about an MVP award, a Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, anything where people at the end of the year have to vote.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Bills going on the road to Miami Gardens, knocking off the Dolphins as 3-point favorites. They win it 21-14.
You want to lose like the Falcons did today, 48-17? That's probably bothersome. You want to win an ugly game where you throw 3 picks, but you end up winning the division? No one cares. Ain't nobody going to be talking about interceptions in the end zone tomorrow. You know what they're talking about? Hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers next weekend in the playoffs.
Football Full Circle, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I mean, folks, we're working against it. Just hit a big time. I'm being honest. I hit a big time sneeze right before he came back in. And I'm trying to regroup. What do we got to do for the people here? Here's what we got to do. I'll give you the NBA best bet. But I'm actually just going to call an audible because the college stuff tips at 7. So I want to give you the college stuff that'll tip because there's 2 of them. And that is Houston and the team total over 65.5. We talked about this in the quick pick and we hit it quickly there with JY. But just to kind of re-rack and re-explain, Houston, I know they're an incredible defense who plays very slow, and that is true. But they still have the 10th best offensive efficiency in college basketball. That's why they rank top on KenPom. And if you look for Texas A&M, who played Iowa State, Texas A&M is 18th on offense and is actually a tick slower in tempo. They're basically the same exact tempo to teams. And Texas A&M went well through a team total in that basketball game, scoring 73. So Houston, who plays at the same pace and is a little bit better offensively tonight, can get through it. Now, the difference is A&M was playing on a neutral site game down in Florida, and this tonight is at Iowa State, and the Cyclones can certainly button it up and lock it at home. But those are the reasons why I tonight don't feel confident betting a -2.5 on Houston, because I think Iowa State can get there. But I don't know if they can truly bottle up this Cougars team that much. This number, if it's going to lose, it's going to lose close. Houston's going to get, I think, a floor tonight of 60 points. The lowest number they've scored all year long, once, 65, and it was against Townsend. Shout out Townsend. But the point is, this team is so talented, it's very hard to keep them underneath a number. The other Big 12 bet I took was a +5 ticket on Texas. I know it's road ranked. What it really has to do with is the spot. Cincinnati, off of an amazing win against BYU, catching double digits on the road. Texas, off of a tough loss at home, laying a number to Tech. I think it's a tick too high, this number here. Cincy tonight, if they were laying 1-2 points, it's probably a stay away. But getting a -115 on a +5 ticket here for Texas was worth it. We'll get to the NBA best bet, reset the card at the top of the hour in less than a minute. Welcome back right here on SportsGrid. I'm Kevin Walsh with you on this Tuesday night. It's Game Time Decisions for another hour until In-Game Live will take over with a lot of great games tonight. We just mentioned some 7 o'clock tips here in the college game featuring ranked Texas at Cincinnati and ranked Houston going up against Iowa State. Both should be great games. Light number for Houston on the road. And then you have Cincy as the favorite against the Longhorns. I want to give you the NBA best bet, and then we'll toss it over to Davis Maddock and get his same game parlay tonight, which comes in the late night NBA window with the Raptors and the Lakers. But for me, this is a spot you guys have heard me talk about before on the show in the NBA. I'm really stunned by the number. It's De'Aaron Fox over 33.5 points plus assists. We have had this number featured in our best bet column at 36.5. We've seen this number escalate at 37.5 prior. And this, to me, is a wild overreaction on the De'Aaron Fox situation where while he's been struggling a bit, are the Detroit Pistons not the perfect get-right team? So the trend for those that, again, is De'Aaron Fox off of a loss has been excellent. Now, it did lose the last time against Orlando. They lost to Charlotte. They won to Orlando, and he actually shot it pretty poorly. 6 of 22 from the field. Did have 7 assists, but couldn't capitalize on a big-time workload there. But I would have taken that bet every time. With that type of 22 attempts for De'Aaron Fox, I would take that every single time. He didn't get there. But the trend still applies quite nicely. But now what you're adding into this trend is De'Aaron Fox is coming off of probably the worst game of his professional career. 1 of 10 from the field against the New Orleans Pelicans for 3 points. 3 points. De'Aaron Fox going to be an all-star this year, averaging 28, 6, and 5. 3-point performance. Radio audience is here. Happy to have you. Tuesday night on SportsGrid, Game Time Decisions across the network, including Sirius XM Channel 159. I'm Kevin Walsh. So this is now the Kings off of a loss. It is De'Aaron Fox off one of the worst games he has ever played. And it's a discounted price against an awful team in the Detroit Pistons. I think the justification for this number more than anything is, it could be a blowout. It could be a blowout. Anything could be a blowout. But if I thought the Kings were going to just run away and hide and be up $1 billion, I'd bet them minus the points in the first half, minus the 11. Alton, right? Detroit, though, knows how to hang a little bit, and they're back home after a long West Coast trip here. Maybe they can hang tonight. But even if they don't, I think De'Aaron Fox tonight absolutely can score 35 points. Handle this on points alone. 33 points plus assists tonight on De'Aaron Fox is my favorite bet on the NBA board, and that starts at 7:10. But again, on the NBA board is some late-night action with the Lakers and the Raptors here. Right now, LA checks in as a 4.5-point favorite with a total at 237.5. LeBron and the Lakers got themselves a major win against the LA Clippers. Can they continue to do that is a big question. We'll talk more about it, but first, here's Davis Maddox, same game parlay for that game.
All right, guys, we are back for another same game parlay over on the FanDuel Sportsbook, licking our wounds from being on Washington and Michael Penix last night. We are headed to the Toronto Raptors, who are traveling to play at the Los Angeles Lakers. The new look Toronto Raptors playing a little bit differently, scoring some points on offense, 133, 130, and 116 over their last 3 games, with Emmanuel Quickley playing more. So we are going to begin in this game by actually taking the over on 234.5. Really not what you would think with the Lakers offense kind of sputtering and with the Raptors, being the last 2 years just playing in the mud. But this trade has really opened up both the Raptors on offense and on defense. We're taking the over on 234.5. We are going to add Emmanuel Quickley to record 20 or more points in this game. His minutes are way up as a member of the Raptors. He is averaging over 30 minutes per game for the first time really in his career. He has never even topped over 28 minutes per game in his career. So feeling pretty good about him continuing to add on to his scoring. And then, of course, anytime you have a Lakers game and you have the over, you got to take the over on LeBron James to score over 30 or more points. Despite being literally the oldest player in the NBA, the guy, he's playing at an all-NBA level, one of the 10 best offensive players in the NBA, even at his age. This 3-leg same-game parlay is going to give us plus 539 odds, over 234.5. Emmanuel Quickley to score 20 or more points, and LeBron James to score 30 or more points in this game. Good luck tonight, everybody.
All right, appreciate the breakdown there from Davis. Here's the rest of my NBA action tonight. It's not a big-time card, but it's a pair of unders on some totals here. I'm playing up, we mentioned with JY, the under in Knicks-Blazers. Knicks right now, while they're scoring 119 a game during this 4-game run, are only giving up 100 a night. And I do think Portland's defense at times gets kind of lumped in with the overall lack of quality on this team. They are 19th in defensive rating, which is, you would assume they'd be bottom 5, and they just aren't. 7-2 to the under are the Blazers this year, coming off of a win they just won in Brooklyn. And then we're going to play an under in Mavs Grizzlies. Look, when you take a look this season, Memphis and Dallas have already played 3 times this year. Ja didn't play in any of the games. I know Kyrie will play tonight. Kyrie played in one of these games. Here are the totals. 222.5. 224.5, excuse me, and 227.5. Explain to me why tonight's number is 235. It's an overreaction. Or it's actually not a reaction enough. I can't tell which one. I don't know if they're overreacting to Memphis having a good night in Phoenix. I don't know if they're overreacting to Kyrie being back and available. This number is nearly 8 full points higher than the highest total that we've seen when these teams have met. Now, you could certainly counterpunch and say, hold on. While those were the totals, 2 out of the 3 actually featured 230-plus points in them. So they had to start elevating them. Okay, sure. But again, the high number there was 235. So you have not been able to get over that 235 number yet in any of the meetings. And Memphis's offense is 30th in the NBA. And that's because of all the basketball they had to play without Ja. This team averages about 106 a night this year without Ja Morant. They averaged a little over 112 when he was in the lineup. But Ja's gone. That's the reality of it. And I think that the offense is likely to come back a bit, but the defense can stick. Marcus Smart's back in the lineup. It's what Jaren Jackson Jr. does, and I think he's still going to play tonight. I know he has a questionable tag. That would admittedly worry me some if Triple J is out of this lineup, but I think he will play. But at 235, I think this number is far, far too high. College, look, I like an under in the Baylor-BYU game. I think this is a situation where the BYU defense, I trust a little bit more in this game than their offense. I think Baylor, while they're a great offense, they're not one of these super fast teams. Could slow it down in a top 15, top 20 matchup that we have here tonight. Over Auburn A&M. We've seen A&M play great defenses this year, Houston most notably. They've still been able to get theirs to a degree, hit their team total against Houston, and I think Auburn can score in that game playing the over 147.5. My favorite bet on the college board is Kyle Filipowski, 15-plus points tonight here, over 14.5. Mega bounce back spot off of a terrible game against Notre Dame where he shot at 2 of 12 from the field and scored 7 points. The last time he scored single digits, he had a bounce back 28-point performance. I know it was against Hofstra, but here we respect the pride. Coach James Young is up next on SportsGrid as we get the rest of his hoops picks.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev. Go run, run, run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now, we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I
favorite.
don't care if they win because all we care about is the money, baby. The money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
San Francisco minus 120 to win the NFC Championship. It's the Cowboys with the second best number. The Eagles at 7-1.
What the hell's the difference between the 6 and the 7 seed? I need my guys healthy here to make a playoff push. They took the bye week and still won the football game. You want to talk about two franchises going in the wrong direction? The Eagles. Ridiculous what they did this week.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
It's a lot of fun to do because you could kind of, place a season-long bet all at once and just wait it out. I've always found that interesting. But New York is one state where it's a little bit unclear.
You cannot bet on basically anything that requires a vote. So you're talking about an MVP award, Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, anything where people at the end of the year have to vote.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Bills going on the road to Miami Gardens, knocking off the Dolphins as 3-point favorites. They win it 21-14.
You want to lose like the Falcons did today, 48-17? That's probably bothersome. You want to win an ugly game where you throw 3 picks, but you end up winning the division? No one cares. Ain't nobody going to be talking about interceptions in the end zone tomorrow. You know what they're talking about? Hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers next weekend in the playoffs.
Football Full Circle, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
All right, join us once again here on Game Time Decisions, Coach James Young. JY, how's the early board treating you? How do we feel so far?
Well, Houston doesn't look so good. They have no points in the first 4 minutes. Seton Hall was up 24-8. I opened up my mouth. Yeah. It's 22-27. So a little rough going early on, but plenty of basketball still left to be played in these games. I still feel comfortable who's going to make a run and settle into this game. And I really think Seton Hall, if they can contest the 3-point line, should be okay against Georgetown.
We've got a live 7.5-point line with Iowa State up 12-0. The live total coming down now to 128.5. I will tell you this. This is not a spot where I will be chasing on the Houston Cougars. If I lose, so be it. It could just might not be a good spot for them here tonight. JY, I mentioned the game between the Mavs and the Grizz. I'm on the under at 235. How are you betting that NBA game tonight?
Listen, I'm going to go right to Dallas. Listen, at the end of the day, Luke has actually torched the Grizzlies so far. I think it's 2 34, 35-point games so far this season, as Houston just gave up another layup. This is just I got to turn this off. But also looking at the fact of the offense of the Grizzlies is really tough. They're 29th in offense versus the 8th most efficient offense in Dallas. And you have to look at the fact that just a team to me in Dallas that I think is playing pretty well. By the way, I think the Mavs should go trade for Siakam. I talked about it on the podcast, just throwing it out there. I think that would be a good fit for Pascal to go to Dallas. But give me the Mavs minus 8.5. I think Memphis was playing better when John got back. Now they're a hot mess. Bane will shoot the ball 4,000 times. Mavs win by 10+.
I mean, they did have a really great win without him against Phoenix. I wonder if they can keep some energy around them, JY. But Dallas with Kyrie this year has played as one of the better teams in the league. And I think that has not really been recognized by a lot of people. And we'll see how it applies tonight. The Raptors are in L.A. As they take on the Lakers here. Lakers got a big win against the Clippers. It felt like they needed it, and they were able to get it. What do you feel, and what do you see here with Toronto and the Lakers?
Well, I'm going to look at Emmanuel quickly, and I'm going to look at his overs assist prop of 4.5. Hit this in 3 straight games. Listen, folks, it's about usage and how he's being used. See, when he was with the Knicks, he was like their microwave oven, instant offense. With a team like Toronto, he's being able to showcase abilities as a playmaker, and that's his role that I think he can excel in with the guys around. That's why you even see a guy like R.J. Barrett, his scoring has gone up a little bit, especially his three-point props for R.J. Barrett. Emmanuel Quickly, 4.5 assists. I think this is a light number. I think Quickly gets 6+ tonight as he continues to, let's say, ingratiate himself and work his way into the Toronto Raptors offense.
What have you made, JY, of the early returns from the Raptors? RJ coming off of a 37-point performance there. A lot of people, understandably, because the Knicks are trying to be contenders in the Eastern Conference, are talking about OG Anunoby. How do you feel about this Raptors group right now with IQ and RJ Barrett becoming starters immediately?
Kevin, it's funny. When you have a trade in NBA, very rarely do you say, like, both teams won. And to me, I think both teams won here. I think you look at a case like Toronto, they lose Fred VanVleet. Obviously, now you bring Gary Trent off the bench. To me, is Emmanuel Quickly an upgrade over Dennis Schroeder? I think so. Is RJ Barrett an upgrade over Gary Trent Jr.? I think so. I also think that you can look at someone like Schroeder now becoming trade bait because now he's upset with his playing time, which I think he was already out of his starting lineup before they even traded for IQ, if I'm not mistaken. So I think if you are Toronto right now, right, you have your core. It's Quickly, you got to give him the money. It's Barrett, it's Scotty Barnes. Now what they have to do at this point is probably see Jakob Poeltl's out for a little bit. Pearl's your center. Now you got to go get a power forward, and I think that's where you go in and you start to make a trade for Siakam. Now remember, folks, Siakam is an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year, so they get traded. You can turn around and try and go back, which has always been the rumor that people thought. But to me, I look at a team like Toronto, and I think you move Siakam, you make this Scotty Barnes' team, but I think that backcourt of Quickly and Barrett, I think it'd be a very good backcourt in the NBA if they get the time and the minutes.
I think the Siakam thing is, I don't know, man. It's the Raptors. It's such a no-brainer to trade him. The world, he might come back. Not trading him and then he resigns. They say, oh, they did a good job. You might be able to trade him and he still comes back. But this is the Raptors. Baylor, BYU, big game in the Big 12. BYU looked great early to start their season. Were up early on Cincinnati and really fell apart in the second half of that basketball game, Coach. Now going to Baylor, what do you see in this game?
Short line for a team, and listen, folks, put on your seatbelts, okay? Buckle up. This game is 150. This is not going to be a rock fight tonight. I have to put that out there. This is not going to be a rock fight. 153.5. I think this game could go over. I do like Baylor more than anything, a -4.5. Both teams top 7 in the nation in offense. Baylor plays well. BYU only one road game going to that new arena that Baylor opened up last week. I do think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Baylor -4.5, but I think this game can go to 160 plus, K-Dub.
I'm on the under, 154.5. I'm on the under. So, does it count as a head-to-head? You tell me.
Well, yeah, it's not official play here, but K-Dub wants to get on the win column on this one. So, all right, K-Dub,
just asking
I'll
you.
take the over.
I'm asking you. I'm just asking you. Because of your breakdown, I felt like I can't tell who you like in the game, but you think there's going to be about 180 points in it. That's what I heard.
Yes.
I don't even think you like Baylor that much.
But I like Baylor minus the points. I like Baylor minus the points more, but I'm gonna go over. There's my place right there. See right there, -4.5.
I think you like Baylor's team total maybe. Wait, why don't you take the Baylor team total? You seem to like the Baylor team total quite a lot here.
I know, because I think a BYU can score, and I think they're going to be able to score. I think this game's going to get up and down, so I think this game goes over.
All right, there you go. JY likes the over and BYU outright, apparently, according to just what I'm. Talk to me though, JY. Creighton's at DePaul. DePaul's terrible. Everybody knows it, but it's a big number on the road here. How do you feel about Creighton?
Creighton is one of these teams that I cannot figure out. Right? Like, they look great, they look terrible. Kevin, at the end of the day, I really think that Creighton is a top 10, top 15 team in the country if they get their you-know-what together. Right? They're playing a little bit better. This is all about one thing. DePaul sucks. You remember, like, last year when we used to just, whoever Louisville played, we just went against Louisville? You remember that last year? This is Louisville part 2, right? By the way, do we still go against Louisville every time, too? They're still pretty bad, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, this game tonight, Creighton minus the points. I think they get the win and the cover. Listen, the two games they've lost in the Big East play at what's home against Villanova, which was a quirky game, and versus Marquette, which is not, because Marquette's that good. Creighton starts to get going here. They won the last two games in a row. Give me Creighton minus the points.
Well, how do you feel, JY, that this line is now up to 15.5? Are you still interested at a number like that?
You know what? What I would do is I got it lowered. So what I would do is I would take the first half line and expect them to be up by about 10 or so points. That line gets worried with a backdoor cover. But honestly, Kevin, if I come out and I see like a 6-0, 8-2 like game early on, I may jump in live even if it moves up to 16, 17.5. Because I just think they're bad, DePaul. They're bad and they got no one. Who's their best player? Paul Alexander? No, he went somewhere else. So I just don't believe in this team at all. But I think that they're going to get absolutely rolled, DePaul. They suck. No way around it.
All right, JY, being very, very rude to DePaul out of nowhere. Great breakdown, though, Coach. We appreciate it as always. We'll be right back here. Is DePaul win outright? Many are asking. We'll be right back with Dave Sharapan.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev. Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now he's a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I
favorite.
don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
San Francisco minus 120 to win the NFC Championship. It's the Cowboys with the second best number. The Eagles at 7-1.
What the hell's the difference between the 6th and the 7th seed? I need my guys healthy here to make a playoff push. They took the bye week and still won the football game. You want to talk about two franchises going in the wrong direction? The Eagles, ridiculous what they did this week.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
A lot of fun to do because you could kind of, place a season-long bet all at once and just wait it out. I've always found that interesting. But New York is one state where it's a little bit unclear.
You cannot bet on basically anything that requires a vote. So you're talking about an MVP award, a Cy Young, a Rookie of the Year, anything where people at the end of the year have to vote.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Bills going on the road to Miami Gardens, knocking off the Dolphins as 3-point favorites. They win it 21-14.
You want to lose like the Falcons did today, 48-17? That's probably bothersome. You want to win an ugly game where you throw 3 picks, but you end up winning the division? No one cares. Ain't nobody going to be talking about interceptions in the end zone tomorrow. You know what they're talking about? Hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers next weekend in the playoffs.
Football Full Circle, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Back right here on Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh with you on a Tuesday night. Appreciate Coach stopping by, getting us some breakdowns here as we try and get set for a big night of basketball, plenty of college, as well as the NBA. Just early returns here. Iowa State's defense is answering the bell. I knew there was a world that could be wrong on the Houston side, and it is what it is. Texas up early on Cincy. That live number's 2.5. Look, you're holding 5. It doesn't, there's no, oh, we're good, right? It's early, it's college basketball. But at least they're not down $1 million, right? Where the Houston bet feels dead and buried, Texas is in the mix, which we like to see. Kentucky is now laying live 20.5 against Missouri with a total of 183.5. That offense is glorious, and we love to see it. Consig, Dave Sharapan. I'm battling through it, brother. How the hell are you?
J-Dub, it sounds like you need some lozenges. It sounds like you need a little.
Yeah, I had one. I already finished it, though. Yeah, lozenge. It does work, though.
Yes.
Yeah, it's in the bag. All right.
Yeah, good to see you. I mean, you talked a lot yesterday. I heard you put in a long day. That was good. The game turned out okay. Michigan under. College football is
Great day
done.
for the
We're on to
books.
college basketball. What?
Yesterday. Was that great for them? Michigan, Washington.
What about it?
Was the game great for the books? Guys in the room.
There was a lot of futures on Michigan at big numbers at the beginning of the season. Like there was a lot of
Mhm.
payouts on them at 10-1, 9-1, all the way down. I was late to the party. I got plus 250 once I knew they were going to be one of the 4. I think it was okay. Going under was good. You know, that was supposed to be a different type of game. So the game going under was good from the couple guys that I talked to. So that was good. I saw you on it. I was on it too. That worked out okay. And then a couple big plays early, the number went up. So, you know, if you went in for a second shot, you really got healthy last night with the total. But yeah. And now we're on to college basketball. I heard you talking to JY earlier. I heard you, I'm on Iowa State. You know when you see these short numbers.
Yeah.
One of those games. It's one of those games.
I took a team total with Houston. The side is exactly what you'd expect. So I'm not upset or surprised at what's happening. The one thing with the books is last night they probably had a great live. Everything worked their way. Because Washington ended up not covering any of the live numbers due to the late touchdown. And they couldn't get the, by the way.
Michigan money. They were getting all
live
of Michigan money. Yeah. Yeah. Because, I mean, if you're
watching
what
the numbers?
game, at what point did you think game closed 5 in a lot of places? 11.5, 18.5, 17.5. They were still laying. Guys laid as much
Oh, that's
Michigan money
surprising.
as they possibly could. Yeah. They were putting that number out there to try to get the money. And, I mean, only at 17-10 did you think, okay, maybe they're going to stay within single digits. I heard the stat when it was 14-3. That was their largest deficit of the season. I was like, oh, no, this is lay it. I tweeted it. It was 18.5 at the time. And I was getting texts like, hey, should I buy Washington tickets yet? I'm like, no. Don't. They don't look like they're going to be able to stop them.
Yeah, but Dave, they covered for well over 50% of that game, the live numbers. I mean, that game was 2013 for the entire second half, it felt like.
For the mid-third quarter on, right? It was until the late fourth quarter push. I don't know. It was, when you're sitting there and you know the team trying to come back, it felt like, I mean, the score was 20-13, but it didn't feel like Washington was going to win that game. And then if you got under 6.5, you got 6.5 or less sitting on 7. Because some joints do it -6.5, some do it -7.5 when they bounce it back and forth.
Yeah,
maybe
with
they
the
did good
juice.
with the plus 7.5. Yeah, so.
Yeah, because there was 14.5 early and stuff. I thought that was all interesting. The one thing the books almost got, which I imagine would have been incredible, was Quorum to not score. And instead, they ended up having to pay out all the 2+. But I imagine Quorum's anytime touchdown score was the single most parlayed item of the entire college football season.
Most likely. Yeah, the running back props in that situation with him probably were. I don't know. Again, Michigan was good enough. I think it's more like my takeaway was this, K-Dub. Washington earned their spot to get there. And I don't think it felt like total domination in the first half, but adjustments were made, and that game was a 7-point game in the second half. I mean, Michigan won and overtook them in the fourth quarter, imposed their will, scored those rushing touchdowns, Corum in the end zone twice. But I don't think Washington has anything to be ashamed of. I mean, Penix got destroyed. He kept coming back.
Mm-hmm.
The flags were all totally against Washington. They kept hanging around. They had never been down that many points and come back. They were hanging right there. I don't think the score is indicative of the game. Do you?
I totally agree. And I'll tell you this. But this is something that when it was me, you, and Donnie doing In-Play Sports Tonight. So showing lead was always the phrase, right? We would talk about with that team trailing, right? Just, hey, get up 1, get up 2, instead of cutting it, right? So Washington showing lead, but they couldn't tie it. If they would have got it 20 up, Michigan might have folded. They might have. I don't even know if they would have, to be honest. That ground game was eventually going to break free in the second half, and it did, right? But Washington had so many chances on the offensive side of the rock, and they couldn't take advantage. Let me go next year for you. I want to start with this, because this is more surprising. There's game lines out. Week 0, but not even just week 0. They're hanging Michigan, Washington in October. They're hanging Georgia, Ole Miss in November, Georgia, Bama in September.
Wow.
Maybe a bad memory, Dave. I don't remember them hanging game lines day after the championship.
No, definitely not. Listen, further out you can take bets on games, the better. Because, again, who's betting this stuff? Who's betting that? Not too many people. But, that's great. Put it out. What's the Washington line against Michigan?
10.
The game's in Seattle.
10 on the road.
Michigan minus 10?
Yeah.
Wow.
On the road.
I mean, now, on the road, and I know Washington's going to lose a bunch of people, but their coach is coming back. Do you think Harbaugh comes back, K-Dub?
No. I don't think Michigan even thinks he comes back at this point. I think Michigan people seem to be like, we get it, he's gone. The Chargers are the landing spot to me, but it's tough to get a great read.
As long as he won, I guess that's good. They're good with it, but I don't know. There's some rigmarole here in town that he's talking to the Raiders too, and I don't know.
Yeah, can I ask you this though?
Yes, sir.
So this is stuff where, because for every bettor, something's different. So when I'm using FanDuel, right? These games next year, I'll just use the Michigan-Washington game, right? And if you just press enough times, you can find out the limit on these bets. So the spread is $3,300. The totals are listed too, which is actually to me stunning that they're posting totals.
Right.
51.5.
Oh, I was going to say.
And the limit on that is $1,650. Right now, every bettor has their
$16.50 a total. That's good.
But what does that say to you? Does that say for them? Because obviously, these books are used to handle. They're like, look, nobody's going to kill us. How many times does somebody have to click this 3,330, right? Throw it down for them to even move these numbers. Would they take it off the board? Are they doing it for the publicity? What is the thought process here?
Oh, just put the number out, see if anybody wants to bet it. But at $3, you may not even move it. You may wait to take a second bet. If you believe in your number, you just leave it sit there and get a position. Now, $3 is a decent sized bet for an advanced line that's literally, 10 months away? It's January 9th. The game's in October. So that's 10 months away. I'm more impressed with the total. We put those totals up like that for the NFL season far in advance. Total limits would be $10. So they're taking $1,500. And again, you may bet it. It may move a point. I may bet it, and it may not move at all. So all you're trying to do is find out in advance if anybody might know something or think they know something. At 10, I don't think many people are looking to lay. So we can put up 10, take 3 dimes, take the bet that we need on the dog and go to 8.5. If they start laying 10K, Dub, I'm more worried about Washington adjusting their future price. Well, they're in the Big Ten now. I was going to say adjust their Pac-12 price, but Pac-12's done. It's over. I got to remember that.
It sure is.
Yeah, that's good. So what's the Georgia? You said they got Georgia, Bama? Is
Pick.
that one of the future games?
Pick at Bama.
Wow.
You only bet Bama. If you're betting that line today, right? What's the highest number Georgia could go to? 3?
3?
Highest.
Jinx.
But if Georgia's not clicking and Milrose crazy, you could all of a sudden be laying 4. If Bama's great, but this is where, people don't like locking up futures that get amazing payouts. How many people lock up Game of the Years? It's an interesting thing. We'll keep talking about it all for you right here on Game Time Decisions.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev. Go run, run, run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now, we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I
favorite.
don't care if they win because all we care about is the money, baby. The money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
San Francisco minus 120 to win the NFC Championship. It's the Cowboys with the second best number. The Eagles at 7-1.
What the hell's the difference between the 6 and the 7 seed? I need my guys healthy here to make a playoff push. They took the bye week and still won the football game. You want to talk about 2 franchises going in the wrong direction? The Eagles, ridiculous what they did this week.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
It's a lot of fun to do because you could kind of, place a season-long bet all at once and just wait it out. I've always found that interesting. But New York is one state where it's a little bit unclear.
You cannot bet on basically anything that requires a vote. So you're talking about an MVP award, a Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, anything where people at the end of the year have to vote.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Bills going on the road to Miami Gardens, knocking off the Dolphins as 3-point favorites. They win it 21-14.
You want to lose like the Falcons did today, 48-17? That's probably bothersome. You want to win an ugly game where you throw 3 picks, but you end up winning the division? No one cares. Ain't nobody going to be talking about interceptions in the end zone tomorrow. You know what they're talking about? Hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers next weekend in the playoffs.
Football Full Circle, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Live on SportsGrid, it's a Tuesday night on GameTime Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh, and you can hear we're fighting through it. It's been a long week. It's all good, though. I got Consig with me. Dave, just quick little in-game. Iowa State, all of a sudden, it's only 4. Manny Sharp's getting hot from deep, 3 of 4. He had a prop that was 2.5 made threes. You could get him for 12 plus at minus 105. He's got 11 early, so he is the offense right now for Houston, using that defense to cut back into this game. I saw it as big as 7.5. The game's working its way nearly pick, 1.5 right now. Iowa State, low total, 121.5.
I like it. I like the under before the game, so hopefully we just keep on this pace. This is going to go back and forth. You knew Houston was going to come back and keep this a game. What looking ahead to a couple other college basketball games tonight, any opinion on Duke and Pitt?
I'm on Filipowski, 15 plus. My favorite bet on the college board tonight.
You love these college props, huh?
Current good rhythm. When we find our guy.
Okay.
We had the Mosque the other night against Purdue. We had the kid Boswell in the game against Colorado. So, try not to overextend inside the college player prop world. It's my only one tonight, but so far it's been working, so I'm trusting it.
What about Purdue and Nebraska? I'm interested.
You know what? I didn't like the game.
Nebraska's off to their best. You don't like the game?
No, I saw. To be honest with you, and because there's so many games every night, I saw it. Yeah. I saw the side. I saw the total. I put no work in. I said that game's not for me tonight. Sometimes you see a game that's not for you, and I knew that game wasn't for me.
That's good.
I knew it.
Okay. I heard you talking to JY about Creighton and DePaul. You see that number steep up to 15.5, 16 in places. DePaul is terrible, but are you concerned about Creighton's ability to go cold and not make threes and not cover a big number? I don't think they're in jeopardy of losing the game. But I'll tell you what, I saw them in person here in Vegas. Mm-hmm. When they're missing threes and getting one shot, not getting offensive rebounds and not possessing the ball, laying a big number on the road is a little scary. I was surprised. You got a great number, good CLV, but
that's his number. No, okay. So you're going to think it's a joke. I have the under in this game because Joe Lisi's on it. Lisi's been throwing his weight around a little bit in the NBA and the college basketball world.
Really?
And I told him, I said, you know what, I'll go with you. So he played 142. Here's what I liked about it. I had to like something about it. Is all anybody can talk about, right, is how do you trust Creighton laying that big a number? Do we just take 15.5 at home in a college game? So him coming in under, that's left field, right? So I'm going to trust him.
And Lisi likes the overs more than you do. So that's kind of surprising. Lisi likes to bet overs a lot.
I got to tell you, I don't know what's going on, but I think so props, I still can't get there on unders, but that's because it's how I like to research them. Occasionally they'll come in, but I'm on 2 NBA totals tonight, both on the under.
I like it.
The Baylor BYU game, I'm playing the under, 154.5.
That's against everybody. Everything looks like that's going to be a track meet, and I heard JY talking about that. That's all right. That's a good spot to be in. That's perfectly acceptable. I know you're comfortable being sometimes on the island. Nothing wrong with that. Last one I wanted to ask is I'm going to shoot down there, and it's a late night, and I know you're going to be long asleep because we've got to rest that throat for the rest of the week with all this NFL playoffs and all this other stuff. Yeah. New Mexico's at UNLV. Short favorite again on the road. The story of the day today is all these short road favorites. I looked at that game and thought, nope, can't be. But that game has juice if you need a little late night sweat out west. Hopefully I'm going to head down to the Thomas and Mack. I'd pick you up if you wanted to come, but I got to get you rest. I think the game has juice. That one looks like an over.
I like it. What about the ice tonight? We had Tom Vecchio stop by, does a great job. And He doesn't usually just shoot to the top of the board. He said McDavid 2+ points, though. He said he's too hot to fade. You got to trust him here against the Blackhawks. -125, I think the juice was.
I think so. Listen, there were two games when he looked at the board this morning, and I thought, this is really interesting. Toronto at home against the Sharks. Toronto -450, -$5. The Sharks have been an auto fade recently on the puck line. And then I went to the Edmonton-Chicago game because this was going to be the Connor and Connor show, right? Connor McDavid and Connor Bedard.
Yeah.
But Bedard broke his jaw. He's on the IR.
Yeah.
He's not playing.
Is that going to mess up his Rookie of the Year?
It depends how quick he can come back. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, he is the poster child for the league. He's the next one. He's the guy, and he's great when he plays. It depends how long he misses. I mean, if he misses 30 games, somebody might get into the mix. But Edmonton should light this team up. Edmonton should light up. Edmonton team total over. Bedard, David props all makes sense.
Look, a hockey guy, not a hockey guy. You guys know the story. I feel my outside is every time Edmonton lays -450 on the road, that's not good. That's not safe. That gets put in no parlays if you're smart to it.
Right.
Am I wrong?
No. I mean, sometimes your goalie situation will make you get it'll be pain.
Can we get 2.5 with Chicago?
They may only score 2 goals. That's the problem. They may only score
-122.
If we get 3, then you're good. I think the final score of the game is 5-3. Something like that, 5-3.
So you like the over?
Something like that. I do like the over, yes.
Okay. Can I do the NFL with you? Because I might not talk to you again until Friday. Just kind of what you're hearing early.
Yeah, let's go.
What are you, and that's me, by the way, again, I won't be here Thursday.
Right.
What are you hearing right now? What's the talk of the town with the NFL odds? Look, these open Sunday, so people have been hitting it for a few days, but what's going on right now?
No line movement. It's incredible. I wore the Buffalo stuff because the Steelers have no shot. Not going to, no TJ Watt.
You're trying to reverse it.
I'm hoping it's a game. I'm hoping it's competitive. My whole Sunday morning here is breakfast and Steeler playoff football. I hope we make it to lunchtime still alive. That's all I'm hoping. Buffalo's the team of choice for a lot of guys. I got a guy, I call him Tommy the Lip. Tommy the Lip's got some major positions on Buffalo. And Tommy the Lip is betting major money. I went and watched the game with him at the Westgate Superbook in the VIP room area, booth, whatever you want to call it. And he had Buffalo gigantic. He's all over them. So that's the team that can beat Baltimore in the bracket. Are they going to beat the Steelers Sunday? Yes. They'll be in every teaser. They'll be in every money line parlay. Forget about it. It's the biggest spread for a reason. Go to Monday night, K-Dub. There's a team that, we both kind of know and think about and has been bad, super bad. The Eagles are terrible. Home dog, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, creamsicles. I don't think they're going to wear them, but they should. They should both wear the throwbacks. Kelly Green against the creamsicles. But, have you ever seen a spot better for a team, the ultimate buy low, than the Eagles in this spot, Kevin?
But hold on. See, let me look this up, and I can't remember it off the top of my head. Because these teams played in Tampa on a Monday night as well. What was that line? That was early season. 4.5.
Whew.
So everyone ate up all the 2.5s. But I would say, so let's use the 3. Have the Bucks earned a point more of what people thought from them in week 3? Yeah? How much do you think Philly's dropped in power ratings from week 3 to now? Field goal?
Some may say more. So it's that bad.
So that's the problem. What that really says to me is this line should probably be pick. If not Bucks -1, really. But this is where, and again, they can't make that number. They won't take a buck bet in the world. They can't do that.
Nope.
So that's where you get in an interesting spot, and I think that's where you got to get a little creative, some team totals and things like that if you like Philly. Because I don't think you're getting you might feel like you're getting a great number, but it's hard to justify.
What's your favorite game of the week? Because there's storylines in every one. What's your one favorite game of the week that you can't wait to watch, let alone bet?
So the betting thing is I'm going to do what I always do and completely tell everyone that weather's not a factor and bet the over in the Bills game, probably. I already know it.
Okay.
But the Miami-Kansas City game is so important because I think Miami can win that game.
Wow, you're one.
And if they do,
that's great.
If they do, I know this is going to. I also think they could beat Baltimore.
Well, they go to Buffalo next.
No, they do not.
Three
no,
goes
they
right
don't.
to two. They're the three.
No. We reseed in the
scenario
NFL.
They don't.
No, I'm talking about Miami. Miami, I'm saying.
Oh, Miami goes to Baltimore. Yeah. Okay.
And that's what. So if Miami
wins, they go
correct.
to Baltimore. Yes. Okay.
I think they could actually get Baltimore in a rematch. I do.
Wow.
If that happens, I think the Bills will handle their business. And if the Bills host the Dolphins in the AFC Championship game, Miami will cover that 6 that'll end up getting posted. I do think the Bills go. I really do believe that.
Yeah.
Can Buffalo get help from Miami? And we'll get it. Let me tell you, too, the amount of you can't beat a team 3 times, you can't beat a team 3 times, Miami bets that would come in would be so good.
Yeah.
It'd be so good. That's kind of
Detroit. Rams, Detroit, Sunday night. Gigantic handle. Sunday night always gets gigantic handle.
Yeah.
Rams, Stafford return game. Detroit hosting a playoff game for the first time in forever. I think since Wayne Fonts. I mean, this is a monster. I mean, look at the total. You want the game with
Let me
the
tell
most
you this.
juice? Over.
Yeah. Ready?
Over. What? Please.
I'm starting to wonder if they put you in the room secretly. Because I've been slowly but surely talking myself into this Lions to win the conference. And it was 850. And all of a sudden now it's 950. Now I haven't bet it. But it sounds like someone somewhere said, hey, listen, you make that thing 10-1, he's coming in. Trust me. He's coming in at 10-1. And I don't like that. That's just a little disrespect. I don't like that very much.
You want 10-1? I'll call a guy. We'll call a guy.
They just, here, you know what it is? They cannot be $2 more than Philly. They have undeniably a better chance to win the conference than the Eagles right now. My own team's going to cost me again. Consig, we'll talk.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev. Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now, he's a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I
favorite.
don't care if they win because all we care about is the money, baby. The money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
San Francisco minus 120 to win the NFC Championship. It's the Cowboys with the second best number. The Eagles at 7-1.
What the hell's the difference between the 6 and the 7 seed? I need my guys healthy here to make a playoff push. They took the bye week and still won the football game. You want to talk about 2 franchises going in the wrong direction? The Eagles. Ridiculous what they did this week.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
It's a lot of fun to do because you could kind of, place a season-long bet all at once and just wait it out. I've always found that interesting. But New York is one state where it's a little bit unclear.
You cannot bet on basically anything that requires a vote. So you're talking about an MVP award, a Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, anything where people at the end of the year have to vote.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Bills going on the road to Miami Gardens, knocking off the Dolphins as 3-point favorites. They win it 21-14.
You want to lose like the Falcons did today, 48-17? That's probably bothersome. You want to win an ugly game where you throw 3 picks, but you end up winning the division? No one cares. Ain't nobody going to be talking about interceptions in the end zone tomorrow. You know what they're talking about? Hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers next weekend in the playoffs.
Football Full Circle, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Closing out Game Time Decisions here on a Tuesday. I'm Kevin Walsh. Up next, we'll be in-game live on SportsGrid. So make sure you stay locked in. We have some picks that are out in action right now. The under in Knicks Blazers, which is very early on. Some De'Aaron Fox action. Sabonis is carrying the load, but Fox is right around pace there. So we'll continue to track those in the NBA. Houston team total, Texas did win the first half against Cincinnati, so they're in a nice spot, but there's still a whole other half to play. The college world is where we go for our best bet tonight, which is going to be Kyle Filipowski, the lead man on the Duke Blue Devils, for over 14.5, 15-plus points. It's minus 130 juice, which is worth the price of admission for me here tonight in a matchup against Pitt. I understand Pitt has some size in the front court, slower team, but we saw Armando Bacot get through this number, and I think Filipowski is a more talented offensive player who's in a great bounce-back spot. 2 of 12 from the field against Notre Dame. Scored single digits for just the second time this season. The last time that happened, his bounce-back game was 28. So, yes, you can say it was against Hofstra, but 28 against Hofstra is what against Pitt? It's still 17, 18, 19 type of points there is what I would believe. This is also a trend that currently sits at 2-0 because Filipowski has not scored 15-plus in 2 consecutive games. Has not happened in 3 straight. Again, that's a 2-0 trend. Continuing to look towards that bounce-back spot here for Filipowski. Elsewhere in the college game, we are on the over in Auburn and Texas A&M, but the under, the over is at 147.5 and under at 154.5 in Baylor BYU, as well as an NBA under of 235 in Grizzlies Mavs tonight. Without John Morant, Memphis, to me, is going to be a team that plays towards the under. I think a lot of the defensive key pieces remain, but offensively, I know they splashed against Phoenix with 121. Kind of makes me like it a little bit more. Overall, that offense will take a hit with John Morant's absence, and it should rear its head tonight in that game against Dallas. That'll do it for us here on Game Time Decisions. I am likely back in this seat Friday night for you, which means we will, at that point, be very close to kicking off the NFL playoffs. Enjoy the night and good luck.